Namaste, angels. Thank you for joining, liking, sharing, subscribing, all the many ways that you guys support me in, any and every order, not necessarily in the order I just gave. I appreciate it. Thank you for being here with me now. Those of you who are watching on the premiere and talking to me live via chat on YouTube. I appreciate that too. And it's really fun for those of us that do it. So we're going to get started pretty much right away. There are a number of things going on this week, very important things. I talk about, not in the general reading, where I know, well, in the general reading, but in like a part one. So not part two where I actually read the cards and did a reading, but part one where I labeled it what divine beings need to know this week. So you consider yourself a divine being, you consider yourself a true twin flame, you consider yourself to be among the illumined or other elect. I do recommend, suggest, ask, nudge, encourage, whatever, you to watch what you need to know this week, because it's really packed. But I think at the height of all of that, all that is happening this week is celebration of Mother. Beginning with today. Today, the day in which I'm doing this reading, is Sunday, June 8th. And this is the day on which Venus entered Gemini. So, I'm sorry, it's Sunday, June 9th. Yesterday, Venus entered Gemini. I'm like, wait a minute, didn't my reading last week cover that? That means it went through Saturday. Yes, so yesterday was the 8th. Yesterday, Venus entered Gemini. Today, Sunday, is the 9th. It's the Feast of the Pentecost. Oh my goodness, yeah. The Feast of the Pentecost, and for those of us who are Judean, it is Shavuot, which is basically the same thing. Jesus and his disciples, they were celebrating Shavuot because they were Jewish. First of all, in Judaism, it's not like just any other religion. It is a bloodline. It is cultural. It's, considered a heritage. And you are what your mother is. So again, Jesus's mother was a Palestinian Jew. That made him a Jew, even though he, completely railed against his religion and said, listen, that stuff, that's old teachings. It no longer applies. We got to get with the new times, scratch that, scrap it. And the Father says to follow this. I come to bring you this message. I am, an ascended being, an enlightened being, a seer, an intercessor, all those things. And I've been told to bring you this new message. So in doing that, he furthered it with the Pentecost, said, and on this day, the Holy Spirit is going to descend upon you guys, because I'll be leaving again. This is after the resurrection, when he was about to ascend. And he said, I'll be leaving again. You guys are going to have to spread the message on, my behalf, or on God's behalf. To do that, you need to be able to speak these other people's languages. When you travel the world, the Holy Spirit's going to descend upon you to give you those languages. And at least as it is written, that's exactly what happened. Holy Spirit came all of a sudden through like a clear cognizance. The disciples, apostles found themselves able to speak in, many, many different tongues that they did not speak native. They didn't know from where they came. And just, as an aside to that, there is a story right now that I read in the news recently of a man that had been in a coma, and he awakened speaking in ancient Hebrew language. So this sort of thing does happen. I also one day woke up, not from a coma, but in general, woke up speaking several different numeric languages that I never studied out of a book. So it does happen, whether one believes it happened 2019 years ago or not. All right, so like I said, in addition to that, there's so many things going on. It's the biggest, I think, culminating in celebration of Mother, beginning with Venus, but of course, the goddess Isis, or as she referred to herself originally, when the universe awakened. And speaking of awakening and birth and rebirth and solar return, for my numerology deck, I'm beginning with card number 16, which is entitled Rebirth. Brings in for me the energy also of the sign of Scorpio. Planet Pluto, which is currently a retrograde in Capricorn. That may be why the 10 of Autumn is showing up here too. 10 of Autumn about being surrounded by family, loved ones, feeling secure, monetarily, maybe having received some sort of inheritance or abundance from another being out of love. Ten of Autumn can also be about heritage. I was just talking about heritage. You are in Jewish tradition, you are what your mother is or was. Heritage may be coming up again for us this week. It seems to have been to be pretty prevalent over at least the past month or two. So with the past life cards, where I kept pulling that Native American card, I don't have those cards out today, so we won't see that. Also, in relation to perhaps the sign of Capricorn, the planet Saturn, and Pluto's retrograde, or Saturn's retrograde for that matter, in Capricorn as well. With my hashtag creepy deck, I am beginning with work, which tends to represent earth signs, and particularly Capricorn, and also sometimes literal work and effort that we have to put towards something. My fortune teller cards, I'm beginning with the Fool. So similar to the Fool in Tarot, about taking, a risk, having the courage, being brave enough to take a divinely guided risk that you've been moved to take. Just as advice in terms of oracle messages, I'm going to be using my angel therapy cards, beginning with Earth Angel. And in honor of Mother and all of her vibrations, I decided to use my Goddess Oracle for a message for each archetype. So at the end, I'll do one for the masculine, one for the feminine, both of which I'll read, beginning with Yemaya and Surrender. But I was also made to see that Hathor was the first card, Pleasure, which segues me right into the dice. We're going to begin with Sex. 29, which is all about spiritual partnership, and No. So if there was a yes or no question, been pondering as it relates to love, divine love in particular, maybe. Answer is no. Spirit still says 29. Oh, stay in bed. That may apply to those who actually get to benefit from the sex die. And email. Also, speaking of email, with absent the cards, I had already felt that this was going to be a week that some of us would be receiving messages, maybe in the mail or email or something like that. But receiving messages from people you haven't spoke to, or people you want to speak to, people you miss, all those things. I definitely felt that. I don't know how it'll turn out, how it'll turn up, if at all, in the cards, but I absolutely felt that. And there was something else I wanted to give you as a message. I don't remember, but now looking down at the dice again, I see eat cake. So definitely want to say congratulations to anybody who's graduating or, moving on in some way, maybe getting married, getting engaged. June is a huge month for that. Definitely happy birthday to my fellow Geminis. And, a little additional shout out to those of the third deacon of Gemini. I'm gonna let y'all finish, those of you that are in the second deacon, but the third deacon has some of the best leaders and Geminis of all time. Some really huge leaders. If you look at the list of names of people who are Geminis of the third deacon, inclusive of the United States president, like him or not. For me, it's an or not. He is a tremendous leader, an elected, leader of the so-called free world, and he's a third deacon Gemini. But it is a major quality of ours to be significant leaders. All right, on that note, let's get busy. I'm going to start with the perspective from the masculine and the animal tarot, or using the animal tarot. And again, beginning with the 10 of Autumn. And opening to the 10 of Summer. So these cards, are both of them, about being surrounded by love, family, huge rainbow in this one. Could be bringing in also the energy of Pride. June is Pride Month. And I do have a lot of LGBTQ viewers. And not only viewers, but, loved ones, family, friends. It's time to express your love and appreciation for family, be it relatives or chosen family, of close friends, maybe. Congratulations also may be in order on happy, fulfilling marriages, as well as raising happy and balanced children. And the 10 of Autumn says contentment comes from knowing that your finances are secure, your family's material needs are taken care of. And it's important that you honor traditions and to have pride. Speaking of Pride Month, have pride in your heritage and the accomplishments of your ancestors. 10 of Autumn. Major Arcana card 4, the Emperor. Structure and organization are important right now. Don't be afraid to take a leadership role, like a third deacon Gemini, as you have much wisdom to offer. Amen. Major Arcana card 4, the Emperor, represents the planet Mars for me in the signs of Aries and Scorpio, which it rules. And opening to also the Hermit, Major Arcana card 9, which represents the sign of Virgo. Take time for contemplation, to retreat and to go within. Be a beacon for others on their path to spiritual enlightenment. This is about introspection. This is about helping somebody else to gain clarity sometimes, or about yourself coming into clarity, sometimes a deepening of some sort of spiritual experience or knowledge. And together 49 equals, or 4 and 9 is 49, or 13 or 4 or 1111. And of course, when we see the 1111, that is about messages. We're supposed to it's an alert to take note of messages, and even more so than that, your own thoughts and your own words you're speaking over yourself and your life and that of humanity in general. 10 of Autumn, and it's another 4. The 4 of Spring, 4 of Wands. An awesome card to see in a love reading. It's time to kick back, relax, and to celebrate all that you have. Joy arises from success in your career, the completion of a project, and a very happy home life. 4 of Wands of Spring, also about relationships, commitment, marriage even. Opposite the 10 of Autumn could definitely be about people getting engaged, people getting married, people moving in together. 4 of Wands also about home, hearth, family, cohabitation. I'll do one more. And it's the 3 of Autumn. Your most satisfying and profitable career or relationship, I might add, comes from following your passions, listening to your heart, and doing what brings you joy, even if it breaks with tradition or social norms. What is and is not supposedly right, according to whomever. And it's a reminder that everything that is legal isn't necessarily right. At one point, slavery was legal. At one point, segregation was legal. And I'm not talking about just black and white there. I'm talking about inclusive of all of these other races, creeds, cultures. It was legal to discriminate against people. It still happens now, but it's no longer legal. But at no point was it right. So this is about doing what you know in your heart is right. Not only in general, but for you, especially as it relates to love. And, love is love, and loving who you want to love. So you're supposed to follow your passions, listen to your heart, and do what brings you joy. Your life purpose is best fulfilled by allowing your true talents and your true self to shine forth out into the world. And speaking of joy, here it is, opposite this 3 of Autumn. 3 of Autumn for me can be about a party of 3, and maybe even a love triangle. So maybe something involving 3 people, 3 or more people. But the 4 of Spring, again, is about that joy. So this is saying that we've earned the abundance, we've earned the joy, and that is on its way to us. And this is us actually enjoying it. 4 of Wands. Just another 4. Is this like our 4th 4? We had Major Arcana card 4. We had the 4 of Earth. Oh, this is the 4 of Earth. We had the 4 of Wands. We had, it feels like more 4s than that. Oh, because I added Major Arcana card 4 and Major Arcana card 9 together to come to 13, which is also 4. All right, so that's what it was. Be cautious about living a life of extremes or seeing things in black and white terms. Consider, for example, whether you're spending too much versus hoarding your wealth, or giving too much emotionally versus building up walls that keep people out. This can also be about us not necessarily being happy doing what we're doing. So as it relates to relationships, not really being happy, not really living our life in accordance with our passions, desires, what we would like to do or with whom we'd like to be, and sort of living like a fake life. In terms of work, I usually try to explain it to people what I mean by that, by considering like career. It's like working a job that pays the bills, but you really don't like it there. You're really not happy. It is not what you wanted to do. It's not in your heart to do it. It pains you to even get up in the morning to go to this place, but you do because it pays the bills, but you're not at all happy. Same thing as it translates to relationships for me. Overall energy is Major Arcana card 7. You can successfully balance various or opposing energies at once through determination and focus. You've earned the rewards and recognition that you're receiving. So I just talked about earning the abundance when we saw the 3 of autumn or earth or pentacles. Here's that message coming up again. We've earned what's coming to us. The Chariot about victory in a major way, victory, and also movement, like forward movement. We're no longer stuck if we had been feeling stuck. It can also be about stop and go energy. Like maybe you feel like you get started and things are going great, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from the person and you go like, what the hell? Like a car, we stopped at the light or something, there's a pause. So that can come up. We might see that in the cards. And also, some of us may feel like we're moving too fast or we're being pressured, to go too far, too quickly. That could be the Chariot warning us that we do need to slow down and we do need a little stop and go. It's time to, put the brakes on, as they say. What else do I want to say about the Chariot? Maybe that's it for now. Divine Feminine. The masculine as it relates to the feminine. Himself. The union as a whole. Speaking of the union as a whole, as it relates to the Chariot, if you're not right now, let's say, interested in a relationship with somebody who's clearly interested in one with you, the Chariot also asks that you, like as compassionately, nicely, I guess, as possible, let them down easy. Stop the car and tell them that you would like to get out. But in as nice a way, a kind of way as possible. What the masculine would have the feminine do, contribute, surrender toward the weekend union this week. Whatever word feels more comfortable to you, use that. What the masculine himself is willing to put forth toward that. What the universe wants each or both to do and even wants to help them with, but they have to first affirm to do it, and the outcome. So we just do want to make sure not to waste our or anyone else's time in relationships in which we're not interested. Divine Feminine, the 10 of Spring. So speaking of stop and go and maybe a time of difficulty, that coming to an end and moving. Speaking of moving, also moving away from, moving on from, a feeling of being overwhelmed maybe, or burdened or burdensome upon somebody else, like, they're doing us a favor or whatever. This is moving out of any of that kind of stuck energy and into a place of balance and shared effort. You're working far too hard and the stress will soon become too much. Reach out for help from others and take some time to play and to enjoy life. Also, so that, yes, this guy just to get out, be social. The masculine as it relates to the feminine, and maybe specifically this sort of energy, the 10 of Spring or Wands. It's another 10. It's the Major Arcana card 10, the Wheel. Expect a sudden positive change in your life. You can now move forward and make great progress. So speaking again of moving, we have an overall energy of the Chariot. We're moving forward, and as it relates to this energy of being stuck, like I was saying, and maybe being overwhelmed and all that, all of a sudden, very fast, very quickly, we're not going to feel like that anymore, with the abundance that's going to come in to reverse the lack and again, overwhelmedness that we had been feeling. And when I picked up the Chariot, speaking of something coming very quickly, it's the Prince of Winter that's behind that, the Knight of Swords, who is decisive, focused, driven, and impulsive. Get ready for progress to speed up. This situation requires you to choose logic and intellect over emotion and to make your decisions quickly. So somebody may be looking for a decision out of us, in which case, again, according to the die, the answer may be no, if we had a yes or no question, or we may be like awaiting a decision from someone else. Also, behind the Prince of Spring is the Prince of Summer. Romantic, flirtatious, introspective, and enchanting. A deeply emotional and probably romantic experience will sweep you off your feet. Things can move very quickly during such whirlwind encounters, so stay balanced and make decisions with both your heart and your intellect. Well, if you've been feeling stuck and nothing's been happening in your life, and then all of a sudden something very quickly comes in and, overwhelms you with love and abundance, of course you're going to feel, swept off your feet, maybe even knocked down. But as the saying and song goes, by fellow Gemini, Kanye West, sometimes love knocks you down, right? Also upright. This is the last one that is up right here. It is the Three of Spring. Stop to take time. So maybe this is like stopping the car, right? Stopping the Chariot. Stop to take time to review and to make long-term plans, capitalizing on your past successes. It's appropriate to pat yourself on the back for all of your accomplishments, but you also may need time and some patience for the next phase to play out. So maybe we need to stop and then, start again, but slow down, not as quickly as we had been going. The Three of Spring can be representative, like the Three of Autumn that was here before, can be representative of parties of three, inclusive of love triangles as well. And there may be something going on with an air sign and a water sign, and maybe most specifically, in addition to Mercury, speaking of air signs and water signs, that has entered Cancer as of this past week. It could be an air sign having something going on with a Cancer, maybe specifically a Gemini and a Cancer. Gemini ruled by Mercury and Cancer. The Chariot represents the sign of Cancer. Or perhaps most specifically as it relates to the wheel, an Aquarius and a Scorpio. Right? The wheel represents the sign of Sagittarius and the planet Jupiter, which rules Sagittarius, but also is connected to the fixed signs. So that would be Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus. But then again, getting back to Gemini, so maybe it's a Gemini and a Scorpio specifically. And as far as the tarot goes, the Knight or the Prince is the Gemini, for the sign of the element of air. The masculine as it relates to himself right now this week, and it is Major Arcana card 12, Awakening, the Hangman. So speaking of stopping and going, the Hangman is an air of suspension. It is a pause, a temporary pause, but a pause nonetheless. And it's another 3. So again, there could be something going on with some sort of party of 3, maybe even a love triangle. Look at things in a different way and all will make sense. Maybe he's trying to decide which he wants or something. Don't worry if progress is halted temporarily, like while you figure things out. Things will soon start moving again. Of course they will. Of course they're going to move. We have an overall energy of the Chariot, followed by the Knight of Swords right behind it. So things are definitely going to move. And we have the energy of the wheel here between the masculine and feminine. And again, the wheel is also about sudden movement. The masculine higher self as it relates to the union as a whole, right? Well, his higher self, collective higher self, all the divine masculine has to say about this week, the union as a whole. And it is High Priestess. So this let me tell you, this line here, it all works together. It all, aligns together and makes a lot of sense. The high priestess is a Gemini again, or perhaps a water sign. So like we've been seeing, the Knight of Swords or the Knight of Cups. And is definitely a celebration of Mother, the high priestess herself, the goddess Isis, who we celebrate this week on Thursday, the 13th, and appears as the high priestess in the traditional tarot, the Rider-Waite. On Major Arcana card 2, the high priestess, that is her sitting there in between King Solomon's columns, in her, all blue and white, looking like Mary. Another vibration of herself. So anyway, the high priestess tells us to slow down, maybe even fall back completely, stop altogether. And before we make our next move, take a look around and figure things out. And we may be doing that without telling anybody else what we're doing. So that could be why something's coming as a surprise. Like I had no expectation of hearing from you or being with you, going out with you or anything like that. Zero expectation, because you went from, someone who I wasn't talking to at all to someone who's here, in my face and overwhelming me with abundance and love. That can be what the high priestess is. She, as I say, real G's move in silence, and she's absolutely one. Crowning, or overall, speaking of decisions that have to be made, the Two of Autumn, you may be under stress because of multiple jobs or too many responsibilities for one person to manage. Could be multiple relationships you're trying to juggle also, or trying to juggle maybe an actual job and having a relationship. Like I spend all my time at work. I don't have any time for love. Those sort of scenarios. You need balance. So you could be juggling. You could be feeling overwhelmed because of that. It's too much for one person to manage. It's important to balance your work and your personal life, and also to bring a spirit of fun to all that you do. So even work we should be enjoying. As I gave that example before of the Four of Autumn and said, this card, what it means to me and how it makes me feel is you're doing something, but you're not enjoying that thing you're doing. You're doing it, but just because it serves like a purpose, and that purpose is not bringing you emotional joy or happiness. That purpose is it pays the bills. That purpose is it makes somebody else happy. It helps me to be a people pleaser, but it's not for you. So this overall energy is saying we need to find that balance. We need to find that nurturing for ourselves, which is also Mother's, perspective and point of view. She's all about the nurturing, the self-nurturing. Also, twos are about partnership. So we got two twos here. What the masculine would have the feminine do, contribute, again, surrender toward the union this week. Oh, it's another two. Oh my goodness, what a beautiful one. The Two of Summer. You're falling in love or experiencing a deepening of emotion in your current relationship. Also, marriages or romantic partnerships that were in distress can still be saved too. Don't give up. So even if they felt overwhelming, or if they felt Four of Autumnish, like we're doing this, but we're just sort of like going with the motions. I don't feel the love like we used to have here. That can be turned around. That can be fixed. That reminds me of this song by Cisco, but it wasn't Cisco. It was the group he was in. Drew Hill. It's like, we're not making love no more. We're not even trying to change. Like we're not even like working on it. We're just existing and we're here, married or whatever it is, but it's not like it had been. This is saying that can be fixed. That what the masculine himself is willing to do, surrender, contribute toward the union this week. Major Arcana card 8, Justice. So to do the right thing, fair decisions will be made after all the evidence is reviewed impartially. Have compassion for others and try to see all sides of a disagreement. It's crossing the hangman, which is about looking at all sides, all perspectives, changing from your typical perspective to look at things in a different way. It's sitting here under the high priestess, which is about, again, sitting back and taking all of your gifts, all of your abilities to look at something and to consider something. So if you're smart, using that, your intellect, you're a wise person, using that, your wisdom, your grandmother taught you something, thinking back on that, you're super intuitive, you're psychic, using that too. You heard something, rumor. You don't know if it's true, but it's worth, considering. It's worth taking a peek at and see how it relates to this. Whatever it is, that's what the high priestess does. She stands back, she observes, she uses all this information that's available to her, and then she decides what her next move is. Also, I spent all that time talking about stuff that just because it's legal doesn't mean it's right. And then here we are with Major Arcana card 8, Justice, speaking of legality and what's right or wrong and doing the right thing. So I think that's why, of course. What the universe would have us both or each to do, whether we're single or partnered or whatever, and in fact wants to help us with, but requires us to first affirm these things ourselves, is the 3 of summer. This is going to be about reunions. It's going to be about celebrating that, something came together. This is about being more social, getting out there, making ourselves known to the world. If we are single and interested in falling in love, you have an exciting reason to celebrate, such as an engagement, wedding, graduation, or a birth announcement. Remember to cherish those you love. Universe may also be trying to get some of us together for, a birthday, I haven't heard from you, but now I'm hearing from you on my birthday, for example, or now we're going to go out for my birthday, or graduation, all those kind of things. People like sort of coming out of the woodwork to celebrate these very special occasions with us. The universe wants to help us to do that. And the outcome, balance. Coming together, compromise, black and white, merging, whatever our differences are, us figuring out a way to look past them or to incorporate them into our lives, to integrate them by merging varying points of view. Here's all the different points of view, right? With the hangman that is sitting here underneath. By merging all those points of view, you can generate an extraordinary new idea. So it's like with mother and father coming together, we get baby. We get something new, a new creation that we both came together to make. Compromise with others and collaborate to discover a better solution. Major Arcana card 14, balance, is actually temperance in the traditional tarot, by the way, and represents the sign of Sagittarius, just like the wheel. For the perspective of the universe this week, I'm going to use the hashtag creepy deck, beginning again with work and opening to travel. So another card of movement, maybe again representative of water sign, Cancer and specifically, but water signs in general, movement, energy. But also another 3 of Wands sort of card. It is dating queen, and we have these 3 suitors here. Dating queen, ice queen, Venus, Gemini, Libra, Aquarius, dating queen, and karma. Karma. And back to Venus, which again, as of yesterday, entered air sign Gemini. So she is basically home there as the esoteric ruler of that sign. Overall energy is beauty queen, which is another sort of representation of Venus for me, and or the Queen of Wands, a very fiery energy with all this red. She's got red pumps on, a red bustier, red lip, this long hair. But it's also very representative, and as a beauty queen, of beauty and confidence and everything that Venus reeks and rules of, right? So that's that. That's our overall energy. Divine being or couple. Recent past. Near future. Masculine's higher self. Blocks the individual shared progress. What the feminine can do to help herself. What the masculine can. Whoa. What the universe would have each or both do and wants to even help us with, but we have to first affirm. And the outcome. Divine being or couple, past life. So this is our focus this week. And, this can mean many things. We can be maybe moved by the retrogrades. Jupiter's in retrograde, Saturn is in retrograde, Pluto is in retrograde. We could be moved to look at things from the past. Our past could be revisiting us, good, bad, indifferent, dealing with those issues. Speaking of past, recent past, destiny. Destiny being set in motion, maybe some of us actually experiencing something, finally achieving something that we knew we were always destined or set out to do. It may have actually come to pass in a very tangible and visible way for us. For others, sort of behind the scenes, things falling into place for our destiny to be met. Near future, fair male. As it relates to the signs and stuff, this tends to be a Capricorn or Earth sign for me, Taurus, Virgo, and is the karmic masculine energy, with karmic in air quotes, in the derogatory way it's come to be known in this community. Although all of these soulmate relationships and past life relationships are karmic, even the good ones that we're happy about, that we want to last forever, those are karmic too. In the way that the universe means it means karmic as in destined, and containing a lesson for us. So, your twin flame, your divine union, your soulmate union is in fact and indeed karmic too. But karmic is more so that, maybe negative energy, or person you're not meant to last with. The masculine's higher self, gifts. And I do feel that this is, especially sitting here atop past life and destiny, most tied to spiritual gifts, an increase in that, and again, using them, being very high priestess like this week, but also possibly literally some gifts from the masculine this week, or to the masculine this week, as it relates to those celebrations that we talked about: engagement, graduation, birthday, all of those. Blocks to individual or shared progress. Fun times. We're not getting out and being social. 3 of Cups. Isn't that what the universe just said it wanted to help us with in the last spread? It wants to help us to be able to get out and do this. You see the 3 fingers in the air? It's very 3 of Cups for me. So it's about being social, again, getting together. Universe wants to help us to do that. Maybe even to celebrate a birthday together, as I just said. Celebrate a birthday together, for you to be there for my graduation, for me to be there for yours, even if we haven't seen each other, haven't spoken. This is what universe wants to help us to come together this week somehow, even if it seemed impossible. And that's the sudden change in energy that the wheel talks about, that the Knight of Swords talks about. What the feminine can do to help herself in this regard is, wow, okay. Well, dark male rather, is the representation in this deck for me of the divine masculine. Now, sitting here together and even facing the fair male and underneath destiny and past life, from one perspective, it is saying to me, yes, as I was just saying to you guys, all of these relationships are karmic. So this is a karmic experience, karmic situation coming together for you. On another hand, it can be a matter of you needing to make a choice with all those 3s we saw, especially. You needed to make a choice between the divine masculine and, some karmic dude. Well, it's represented by a male here, but it doesn't have to be a male at all. It could be definitely be a female that is masculine, that identifies masculine. Well, whether she identifies that like that or not, she's heavily masculine if she's turning up as the fair male. What the masculine, speaking of the masculine, can do to help himself here is communication. So you're guided to reach out, or be open to receiving communication should she reach out, right? Because she's turned her focus to you here, divine masculine. What the universe wants to help us both with here is getting rid of the obstacles, moving them from in front of us. The first way that they want to do that is by telling us how we can do it for ourselves. Pick up the damn phone. Turn your focus around to where it belongs, like let go of your ego. And the outcome. Open relationship, which might not look so good on the card, or even sound so good in terms of the way that we think in the 3D of what an open relationship is. But as I've explained on my channel many times to my viewers, for divine unions, and the way I read this card, it is good. It's about living your life out in the open, out loud, however you want, by your choice, by your standards, by your rules, with the same sex, with the same, with a different race, with a different religion, with one is real short and one is real tall, one is real big and heavy, one is, skinny as a stick, as they say. Whatever your compromise, your coming together to blend, to make some new situation is, whatever that looks like for you, that's what open relationship represents. Because divine unions or twin flame relationships are in fact open relationships, whether we like it or not, until that such time comes as, they're not meant to be anymore. And like the prophecies are fulfilled, and, it is what it's meant to become later on. But up until we get to that point, the way we come together, and then we separate and come together and separate, how can you consider that as anything else but an open relationship? Because all along, we're still considered, together in some aspect. I'll do one more spread, and then we'll get to all these oracle cards too that I wanted to do. And for that, I'm going to use my numerology deck, beginning again with card number 16 and opening to compassion. Card number 99, also card number 44. Again, 4 plus 9 equals 13 equals 4, 11, 11, which equals 8 together. Two 11, 11s equals 8. Environment, the need to get out, maybe spend some time with mother in nature. And that also may go toward your, being reborn, because it helps us to come into clarity and, to have revelations and epiphanies and things, to be in quiet and peace with mother. But also sometimes this is about a need to change our environment, the people, places, and things with which we surround ourselves, make some sort of adjustment, rebirth. And parenting. So I think, again, this is talking about the merger, coming together to produce something new. For some of us, this could be literal, very, Empress-like, and maybe learning that we're pregnant this week, or if we want to be pregnant, maybe working on it this week. We did have a sex die too, and we had 29 spiritual partnerships that could be coming together, again, to create an actual human, especially opposite rebirth. Yeah. Parenting. And speaking of spiritual partnership, it's 29 in the dice, but here in the cards it is 27, spiritual partnership. And also love wants to be seen. So coming together in spiritual partnership, in love, to create something, to co-create something, and to raise it up together. To grow it together. Love. And it is card number 66 now, healing. Speaking of co-creating and parties of 3, the overall energy is card number 3, creativity. So coming together. Crowning the masculine this week, it is card number 96, forgiveness, which is another 6, which, 96 equals 6, and that would be like the 4th 6 that we've seen in like the past couple seconds. And of course, 4 times 6 equals 24 equals 6 yet again. So love. Forgiveness out of love, and that leads to a deepening of love. Masculine surrounded by card number 8, manifestation, bringing in those things that he desires. Including maybe the opportunity to seek forgiveness or to grant it, or both. Masculine subconscious, communication, just like the other spread just suggested. He participated in by either initiating it, making the contact, or being open to receiving it, is card number 33, communication for him. Master number 33, crowning the feminine. Master number 22, intuition. Together, these cards mirroring each other equals 5, 5. So 5s are about change and from what we weren't doing to what we to what we need to be. So from not communicating to communicating, from not paying attention to our intuition, from ignoring it to no longer ignoring it. And also, of course, 5 + 5 = 10 = 1. So a new beginning also maybe is possible in these areas: intuition, communication. Feminine surrounded by. Card number 99, compassion. Again, 2 11-11s. Or 1 11-11. 2 + 9 = 11. 2 + 9 = 11. So we got 2 11s there. 11-11. Again, about your thoughts, your words that you think over yourself, that you speak over yourself and others, is what you manifest. So make sure it's positive when you get that alert. So when you get to this part of the reading, you see this. What are you thinking in that moment? Make sure it's something you shift it to something that's positive, if it hadn't been before. And feminine subconscious, card number 27, spiritual partnership. So this is what is on our mind. And now we got spiritual partnership mirroring the communication. We got a 6-9, 6-9 here. 6, and we're masculine is crowned by 9-6. Crowning the union, or the 2, is that 55 I've been talking about, and it's adventure. So again, = 10 = 1, an opportunity to start a brand new adventure. At the root, foundation, boom, yet again, it's another number 1, telling us that there's room for new beginnings here. Like I just told you. This is the card saying, yep, she's right. She's right. She felt it right. She read it right. At the heart of the matter, it's another 11 or 2 partnership. And again, we might need some patience. So there can be some stop and go, and maybe a need to intentionally take a step back in order to look at things and decide what our next move is going to be. And so that's going to require some patience. We don't want to rush into anything. We don't want to pressure anybody else, make them go too fast or too far, too quickly when they're not ready. Just let it all flow. Speaking of not pushing anybody until they're ready, there's a song playing in the background that says, I'm getting ready. I was saying about, if they're not ready, don't push them. But the song is saying, I'm getting ready. Again, for my fortune telling cards, I'm beginning with the Fool. Have the courage to embrace change. All right, these 5s, we're crowned by these 5s, which are again about change. So embrace it and get ready yourself for the adventure. Take risks and be adventurous. It can't be any clearer. I could stand on my head and scream, and maybe you take note of what I'm trying to say. Opening to mountain. Now that you're protected as you face challenges. Know that you're protected rather as you face challenges, but remain cautious. Mountain and thorns. Weathering the challenges that are ahead will bring in a new and positive future. So making it through the challenges, through the 5s, is what leads to a new beginning, the 1. And that note I'll cut. And coming to flowers, be generous. Success and emotional fulfillment are yours. So flowers can be part of gifts, the gift energy that we've seen, the forgiveness. Sometimes we'll exchange flowers or other gifts when we're, wanting to apologize to somebody, or when we're being social, we're going out on a date, bring you flowers, whatever the case may be. This can also be associated or tied to the energy of engagement and or wedding or other celebrations, graduation, maybe prom, you're wearing a corsage, somebody's bringing you flowers, all those things. This is funny. The overall energy is patience. Slow down, change your attitude, and clear your mind. I just think it's hilarious that the cards, tend to use the same exact words that I do, like in any given reading. Again, from the angel therapy cards, and beginning with Earth Angel, you're a light worker who's come to Earth to teach about love. Speaking of that, I just want to, so a lot of you know this because I've said it on my channel. I've even posted it on my YouTube thread. You can post pictures and stuff. But people ask me about my name sometimes. I did not give myself that name. I promise you God gave me the name. And the way that I prove it is by for example, the picture that I posted. The picture that I posted is my name, translated to numbers, 4 different ciphers of gematria, using a gematria calculator to show you what the answers are. It would be almost impossible for a human being, even one as brilliant as me, I kid, to have done that of their own accord, to have come up with the sums, the totals, the numerical meanings of my name that result. Queen of Swords, the Lightworker, equals 360 exactly, as in like 360 degrees. It also equals 144, as in the 144,000. It also equals 369, as in Tesla's, quote, 369 is the key to the universe. It also equals 135, which is like God's messenger is coming, or God is sending help, is what that means in numerology. You can look it up in like angel numbers and stuff like that. A savior is coming, or God's coming. He's on his way. He sent this person in the meantime. So those are the meanings of my name. That's from where I got Queen of Swords, the Lightworker. I didn't, and he said also, when giving me the name, that it's also a play on words. It's like not just the Queen of Swords, but the Queen of Words, in that I am a messenger to deliver words. I'm also an air sign, a Gemini no less. So the great communicator ruled by the communication planet. So it's a play on words in that sense too, the Queen of Words. And also tied to my metal. In as far as swords, I mean, swords are metal. They're made of steel. But also, like on the Chinese zodiac, for example, you don't just get an animal or something to which you're tied. There's also an element. I'm a metal pig. This is the year of the pig, so it is my year. But I'm a metal pig specifically. So it's like that was another play on it. And he said when he gave me the name also that one of the reasons for the name was because metal is precious. And it was because of like how precious I am to him and mother. So that's from where Queen of Swords, the Lightworker comes. You're free to name yourself a light worker also, or to consider yourself a light worker, or all of the above. Everyone is within their right, but I did not take it upon myself to do that. The name was given to me. Anyway, back to this opening 2. Have you asked your angels for help with this? Your angels want to help you with this situation. However, they require your permission before they can intervene in your free will choices. And sacral chakra. You're highly sensitive to chemicals, additives, processed foods, and energies right now. Respect your sensitivities by avoiding harsh items, situations, and relationships. Sacral chakra also tied to orange. We got quite a bit of orange here. Intuition card, the patience card, the new beginnings card, and the spiritual partnership card all have this orange in them. So with this card also showing up, I think it's like doubling down on the need to work on sacral chakra if you're into chakra clearing and things of that nature. Sacral chakra. I'm going to cut. And Goddess. Express your divine feminine energy, embracing its magical intuition and nurturing qualities. So like I said about Mother, she likes to nurture. Overall energy is vegetarian, vegan, which I think it was in the general reading too. And I made a recommendation there to, I don't like this new thing where we just suggest to people to be vegetarian and or vegan. because I think it leaves a lot of room for sugar intake and carbo loading, which can be very, very dangerous for many, many reasons. And so I made a recommendation during the general reading that if you're going to go along with this, vegetarian or vegan, that it not be, carb heavy or sugar heavy, which is often the case. Like say, for example, vegan, you're not eating meat, which is fine. Don't eat meat if you choose not to eat meat. But for a lot of people, in order to get full, that means eating a lot of bread and stuff, which can be dangerous. It leads to something called grain brain. Also has been connected to stroke. It is turned into sugar in the body. That's what carbs do. And so also to different problems with glucose, hyperinsulin, glucose intolerance, and things like that can be dangerous. So that's that. And lastly, should have been firstly, from this deck, I'm going to, again, pull a card for each, which I'll read. So beginning with the goddess Yemaya and opening to Sedna. 2 water goddesses. I think that we should make note of that. Sedna and Tara, also associated with water and the lotus flower. And she's sitting here in a lotus flower, looks like emerging from the water as we speak. This card is called Centering. She's also sometimes known as White Tara, specifically. Maya, Illusion. I'll do one more. Oh, wait. Maybe I'll do 2 more. Hecate and Crossroads. And Artemis. Very nice. And Selfhood. Maya. And coming to Bast and Play. Overall energy is Pachamama, healing, holding, and holy, which I think is super appropriate for this week, again, with all that's going on the Abrahamic calendars. That is all 3 of them, Christian, Islamic, and Judean, which I did go over in what I'm calling part 1, or what a divine being needs to know, part 1 of the general reading for this week. So do check that out there. I'm also being made to tell you, before I forget, that, okay, some of this, the coming together, how am I being made to, I'm being shown, basically, not told. In the beginning, I mentioned that if you weren't really interested in somebody, to let them know. For some of you, it's that already happened. This disinterest, or where one thought they were disinterested, already happened. And so that's why you parted ways. And now this person is coming back. And that's why it's such a surprise, because you're like, what are they doing here? This person wasn't interested in me, was turned off by me, didn't like me, ghosted me, whatever the case is. So that's where the shock is coming from, that they're returning. So even somebody like that, from whom you had a complete separation, might be surprising you this week. Or vice versa, you may be surprising somebody this week. All right, for the masculine and for the feminine. From the angel therapy cards to the masculine, indigo. The person that you're inquiring about is an indigo, meaning a highly sensitive, natural-born leader. So these indigos will be people primarily of, like my age and Generation X, but also some crystals are like part indigo, some Gen Yers, the older ones, and like people that are on the borderline of Generation X and Y. They're not quite millennials, but they're not quite Gen Xers either. Those people, they are also indigos. Again, like there are some like part indigo, part crystal. Similarly, there are some like crystals that are in their like early 20s. And so they're both like a little bit millennial, but more so they're Gen Z. Lucky for them. My opinion. I kid. But I love the kids, the Gen Z kids. I think they're so smart and so bright, and I just can't wait for them to rule the world. Anyway, but those other ones, they're indigos. And somebody watching me probably connected to an indigo. Feminine, our message from the angel therapy cards is clear yourself. Ask the angels to release any toxic energies that you may have absorbed, okay, in whatever experience you had. From the fortune teller cards to the masculine, luck. I think this was your card last week too. You're right to be strong and optimistic about the opportunities that are ahead. So remain positive. I love that. Maybe that's what's helping you to return, those of you who are. Feminine, for us, it's another high priestess type card, is owl. There are spiritual messages and great wisdom to be found during this period of transition. We started with the transition. Remember the rebirth and all of that. That is going on right now. So messages coming out, clarity, enlightenment coming with that. For the masculine, from the animal tarot, the Prince of Autumn. Trustworthy, dedicated, protective, and funny. It's important to make a detailed plan before starting any new endeavor. Once you have that plan in place, then you can take immediate action steps and get as much accomplished as possible. The Prince of Autumn, if it's an actual person, may very well be a Capricorn, Virgo, or Taurus, or someone likened to those traits or attributes. And somebody very methodical, very grounded, very dedicated, committed to whatever the cause is. In this case, love. The feminine, we may have a choice to make, just like was depicted here on the table, where I said there could be a choice between the divine masculine and a karmic male in your life. Two of winter. Procrastination and worrying about what others will think is blocking you from making a decision. If you're torn between your own desires and someone else's, follow your inner guidance. From the hashtag creepy deck to the masculine, mature woman. If you have a choice, versus and maybe silly and not ready versus mature woman and together, here's your choice. This is also a signal of, it can be your own feminine energy. I know you don't want to think of yourself as mature woman, but it can be your growth, spiritual growth there too. For, and some of you are women, by the way. Just because you're masculine doesn't mean you're not a woman. Feminine, from our card from the hashtag creepy deck, is union. So again, we saw a lot of that coming back together this week. Even people who haven't spoken in a long time. That is going to require, according to the numerology deck, for the masculine to release his pride, let go of it. And this too may possibly be helped by working on the sacral chakra. More orange is coming through here. Feminine, our card from the numerology deck is healing. Healing. And lastly, from the Goddess Oracle, which I chose just in case Mother wants to show up via either one of these, is Hathor. She's back. Pleasure for the masculine. Yeah, of course. And for the feminine, Rhiannon, doubt. Ah, yes, we saw this popping up. So again, I said when you come to these two cards, feminine, focus on positivity and optimism, not something like doubt, but we will go ahead and read that card for you. I'm going to start with Hathor for the masculine. Pleasure. When you come to me, I take your spirit from the stars and clothe it in a body of sensation to finally focus you on form, to benignly bask in you, in bliss. You are here to experience delight, to enjoy gratification, to know satisfaction, to have pleasure in all ways, in all modes, in all aspects. Pleasure makes you juicy, twinkles your eye. enlivens your life force. The exquisiteness of existence is pleasure. Get ready to feel so good. Get Ready popped up again. I'm going to try to remember to put the link to that song, Get Ready, or I'm Getting Ready, in the description box. Hathor, though depicted in many forms, was mainly associated with the winged cow of creation. As birth and death goddess, so rebirth, she was credited with creating the body for the immortal spirit in which to reside. As creator of the body, she also governed all bodily pleasures, sound, music, song, dance, art, love, and touch. It was said that she attended the birth of every child and revealed the pattern of its destiny. She was worshipped in Egypt for more than 3,000 years. Meaning of the card. Hathor is here to tell you that the way to wholeness for you lies in connecting with what brings you pleasure and in experiencing pleasure. Have you been taught that pleasure is forbidden? Something sinful or evil? Are you so busy fulfilling your commitments that pleasure is relegated to the bottom of your list? Do you deny pleasure in order to get work done? Stop. Time to change. Now, all these messages that I've been speaking of during the reading are popping up. The stop, first of all, the stop with the chariot. I said the Four of Earth was about doing something that you really don't want to do, what you really desire to do. You feel like you can't. You got to do this other thing. And that's what this is describing here. So that your pleasure has been relegated to the bottom of the list because you're so busy doing other shit that you really care not to do. Stop. It's time to change that. Pleasure relieves stress and relaxes and refreshes you. Pleasure is the body's way of expressing health and vitality. Pleasure is the oil that keeps you lubricated and lush. Hathor says that since you've chosen to be here in a physical body, you might as well enjoy it. Don't wait for others to fulfill this need. Plan to give yourself pleasure daily, and you'll find satisfaction dancing in your life. And here's the planner again for the masculine. So I think this is for you to make plans to maybe get out, be social, communicate, invite somebody out for a date or something. You know, that might lead to 29 spiritual partnership or 27 spiritual partnership or sex, like the dice said, and staying in bed, all those things. Pleasure. Feminine, our card is Rhiannon. Rhiannon, where are you? Oh, I just passed her. Rhiannon, doubt. I wasn't certain after all. My face had blood on it. All fingers pointed to me. Could I have killed him? My infant son, my own, in my sleep? I was accused and found guilty, and I doubted myself for 7 long years. I played horse to my lord husband's guests, carrying them into court, carrying them out again. And the times were many when I doubted myself, doubted along with all the other humans, that because I was from the other world, anything was possible. The Welsh horse goddess of the underworld, Rigatona, or Great Queen, was Rhiannon's original name. Her story was reduced to something of a fairy tale, just as her name was changed from Great Queen. Though not human, she married Pywel, a mortal, and bore him a son who disappeared at birth. The attendant maids smeared the blood of a puppy on Rhiannon's face and accused her of eating her child. Rhiannon was sentenced to carry all of her husband's guests on her back. When her son reappeared after 7 years, all lived happily ever after. How convenient. Meaning of the card. Rhiannon gallops into your life to tell you how to work with doubt. To doubt someone or something when your instincts instincts are giving you warning signals is healthy. To spend time doubting yourself is self-negating and not very helpful. The best way of working with self-doubt is to turn it into self-questioning. Self-doubt leads you nowhere. Self-questioning gives you answers. Do you get stuck in doubt and let it turn your optimism into despair, your confidence into low self-esteem, your vitality into sluggishness and procrastination? Procrastination. Does doubt align itself with your fears to keep you from succeeding? Do doubts of others shipwreck your dreamboat? Perhaps where the outside world is concerned, you need to exercise a bit more skepticism rather than trusting blindly. Rhiannon tells you not to let doubt erode your sacred self. Allow yourself to question rather than to doubt, so that you gain the answers that you need and continue on your path toward wholeness. I hope that you guys have enjoyed the weekly love reading. Thank you again for watching here with me, joining, liking, sharing, subscribing, and all the ways that you support me. I do appreciate it. If you would like your own private reading, please reach out to me on queenofswordsthelightworker.com. If you would like one of the numerology readings, the gematria readings that I do on people's names, do feel free to purchase one of those too. I only was charging, I think, $6 for them. Was it $6? Something like that. That sounds good. $6 sounds good. Pretty sure that's what they were. And yeah, you can, visit me at queenofswordsthelightworker.com for that too. There's a link to my PayPal on there, or, any of my social media, hit me up. I knew once I posted it that people would be asking me about it again. So yes, I am happy to do those again too. Namaste, guys.